November 13th Planning Commission meeting. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Ms. Casaubon? Here. Mr. Lauren? Mr. Richardson? Mr. Richard? Mr. Willie? Here. Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Baggert? Here. Mr. Fitzmaurice?
Here.
Mr. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Drum?
I'm here.
Mr. Randolph?
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Please turn off all phones and pagers. If you'd like to appeal the decision of this commission, we have appeal cards up in front. We also have speaker cards in case you want to speak about one of the cases tonight. If you do want to speak, each side will be given 10 minutes with 5 minutes rebuttal for each side. Invocation by Commissioner Randolph and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Fitzmaurice, please. Please stand.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to you with bowed down heads but lifted hearts, thanking you for all the blessings you granted into each and every one of us. You blessed us with your grace and mercy throughout this day with our families, Heavenly Father. And we ask, Lord, that you continue to bless those that are sick and shut in, those that are homeless, those that are less fortunate we are. A special blessing upon all of our veterans and military personnel as well. And all these blessings, Lord, we ask that you look upon this parish and our government and our commissioners that's here to represent our communities tonight. In all these blessings, we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God save America.
If the commissioners have had a chance to look over the minutes of October 9th, I'll take a motion to either approve or correct. Commissioner Randolph.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes by Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
I have a Commissioner Baggert.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Baggert. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Staff, any cases tonight going to be postponed?
Yes, we have a request for postponement for Wrigley's Estates, Phase 3A1.
Okay. We'll go ahead and go directly to that first then. This is case number 2018-1280-PP, Wrigley's Estates 3A1, Ward 8, District 13, developer owner, succession of Frederick J. Shigear. Engineer is GEC Inc. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Michelle Blanchard. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Paul Marone on behalf of the developer and petitioner. We are still working through a few of the issues on the staff comments and need some additional time in which to meet with staff to try to get some of those resolved before we come to you for a decision. So we would ask that the matter be tabled until your next meeting.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for this postponement? Yes, sir. Please come up and state your name and address, please, first.
I live at 214 Marlin Drive, in Wrigley's Estate subdivision. That
What's your name? I'm sorry.
Alex Gonzalez. And that water and sewage system that we have will not handle 36 more houses.
Okay, but
And
this
that's
is actually just for postponement of the case till next month, probably. I assume next month. Is that correct, Paul?
That's correct.
Okay. This is just about postponement. Are you in favor of the postponement or are you against the postponement?
No, it doesn't matter. You know, I'll be here next time when it does come back
Okay.
again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll bring it back to the commissioner. Commissioner Doherty.
Mr. Chairman, I'd put a motion on the floor to postpone until next month, our next month meeting.
I have a
December
motion to
meeting.
postpone this case till next month. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Entering parish rights-of-way servitudes and easements. Entering the parish right-of-way, Warner Lane, LA Highway 59, Ward 4, District 5. The request is to relocate a monument sign. The debtor is P&W Industries LLC, Parish Concrete LLC. General location is the intersection of Warner Lane and Louisiana Highway 59. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Riker Toledano. Staff?
Honorable Commissioners, the existing monument signs located within the median of Warner Lane, a roadway within the parish maintenance system. Due to the proposed improvements to Highway 59, the existing monument sign needs to be relocated. Subsequent to approval by the Planning Commission, additional approval will be required by the Parish Council to continue to allow this advertising sign to remain in the parish right-of-way. Department of Planning and Development has no objection to the relocation of the advertising sign.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Commission. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I represent the petitioners and landowners, P&W Industries LLC and Parish Concrete LLC. We are in accord with the comments made by staff. I'll give you just some basic facts and let you have, if you have questions for me, I will be glad to answer them. Warner Lane is just north of where we're situated. It intersects into Highway 59 just before you get into the S-curve where the trace is. And somewhat interestingly, when the property was developed by P&W Industries and Parish Concrete, they owned the strip of property that came out to Highway 59. So it was a private drive that led to the rear, where P&W is to the left, Parish Concrete to the right. Probably 10 or so years ago, the parish took Warner Lane into the selective maintenance system. It became a public right-of-way. When the property was a private lane, P&W and Parish Concrete have a nice, handsome monument sign at the highway identifying the location of their business. As hopefully you're aware, the state is undertaking a project to construct a tunnel under 59 for the trace in that S-curve so that people using the trace won't be at risk crossing Highway 59. In doing so, the state has acquired land on both sides of 59. They have acquired maybe 6, 8, 10 feet of Warner Lane, and they've happened to acquire about half of our monument sign. So the good news is it's not the end of the world. The bad news is we have to relocate the monument sign a little further to the east so that it won't be in the state right-of-way. To the fathers of parish government, there's some interesting legislation that is in the Code of Ordinances that allows the private sector to have a monument sign in a public right-of-way, provided you come to the Planning Commission, ask for permission to enter the right-of-way, and it also requires action by the council as well. So this evening, based on the drawings that we have submitted that have been reviewed and approved by staff, we ask that you approve this request, that we will actually construct a new monument sign. It's actually going to be in the same footprint where the sign is now. It's going to not be as long so that it won't be in the state right-of-way, but it will meet code in all respects and particulars, and hopefully life will go on. So with that explanation, we hope that you grant approval. If any of you have any questions, I will be glad to address them.
Thanks, Jeff. Is there anybody in the audience against this, entering this parish right-of-way? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve. It's
Motion.
logical.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
A second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. There's nothing under entering the Tammany Trace, nothing under minor subdivisions, petitioners' requests, revocations, closings, re-subdivision reviews, dormant subdivision review, or tentative subdivision review. Let's move on to preliminary subdivision review. 2018-1227-BP, Ashton Park, 4th and 5th filing, Ward 8, District 8. Developer owner First Horizon, Inc. Engineers Benchmark Group, Inc. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Chris Ganulet. This was postponed from the October 9th, 2018 meeting. Staff?
Preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office and an inspection was made of the site. It's recommended that the preliminary submittal be approved, subject to the following comments. General comment number 1, the developers requested a waiver of the driveways on corner lots not being located closer than 60 feet from a corner of said property closest to the intersection as measured from the property lines from the corner of the property where the two said street right-of-ways intersect for lots 252 and 335. Should the request for a waiver of regulations be granted, Lot 250 will be restricted to have its driveway located on Castine Cove, and Lot 335 will be restricted to have its driveway on Ridgefield Drive. Number 2, contact 911 addressing to lock in the proposed road names and receive addresses. Road names are subject to change until they've been verified by 911. 3, provide written approval from the utility company for the water and sewer plans for the development. 4, LDH approval of the water and sewer lines is required. Informational items, no funded maintenance obligations required since this is an extension of a private subdivision. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with St. Tammany Parish Ordinance Part 2 Land Development Code, Chapter 125 Subdivision Regulations, since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The developers hereby advise that upon application for final subdivision approval, the engineer of record for the development shall certify in writing that all aspects of construction have been completed in accordance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. If any construction activity is proposed that's not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and parish ordinances, the engineer of record for the development shall notify in writing the Department of Development prior to beginning said construction activity. The developer and/or engineer of record shall obtain written approval from the Department of Development prior to beginning any proposed construction activity that's not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and ordinances. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the November 13, 2018 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Thank you. Is there a representative or? Yes, sir. Your name and address, please.
My name is Murray McCullough with Benchmark Group, an engineer on the project, 11328 Pennywood Avenue in Baton Rouge, representing First Horizon, Inc., the developers of this particular project. Just a little summary. This is we're asking for preliminary approval of the construction plans for the 4th and 5th filings of Ashland Park. It's the final construction on the remaining undeveloped property within the approved PUD. We have reviewed the staff comments, agree with the staff comments. One additional comment, though, is we did receive no objections from the sewer and water department just today. We gave that to Mr. Watson, so that's one that's been taken care of. So yeah, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have and respectfully request that you approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody would like to speak for this case or against this case? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Rich Delgado. I'm a resident of Ashton Oaks, which is the adjacent subdivision. One of the concerns, and honestly very opposed to the cut-through that is denoted in the plans of Ashton Park, specifically between lots 263 and 328. We, in the Ashton Oaks subdivision, request written intentions by the developer, and if they are going to use that cut through with the intention of connecting the two streets into the next subdivision, what studies have been done and making those studies, particularly on traffic and school impacts to Wishspring Forest, so that the residents of both subdivisions can have an opportunity to chime in on that. Thank you.
And your address, please?
I'm sorry?
Your address?
Yeah, my address is 1220 Mountain Ash Drive, Slidell.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to try to address Mr. Delgado's concerns.
Okay.
I would say that, in fact, my client wishes to do away with that connection. Speaking to the original developer just today, he had stipulated to me that early on in this project, that many of the residents of adjacent properties didn't want that stub out there. And and my client is willing to forego that. In fact, would prefer to do away with the connection and make it a pocket park. It's actually something we would like to come back to the commission for, once we get these preliminaries approved, hopefully, because we didn't want to slow down what we were doing, but would like to make, at some particular point in time, make that formal request. So I think that addresses Mr. Delgado's concerns.
So if this does pass preliminary, when you come back for final, that little turnaround will be a stub and it'll just be closed out?
No, I think it's already a stub. It's Mountain Ash Way, is it not, Mr. Delgado? That's the one you're concerned about.
Okay.
And it's already just a stub street to our westerly property line. Okay. And my client would like to do away with that, and not make it a lot, but make the right-of-way that was proposed there like a little pocket park. I think that requires a PUD and tentative plan reapproval, does it not?
I don't believe so. I wouldn't say that's a major amendment. You're increasing your green space and taking away a small portion of right-of-way. But I will look into that and give you a final answer after I can do a little bit of research, but I don't believe so.
And thank you, I appreciate that. And if we can just do it on a staff level, we certainly will provide you the documentations. If it could be done tonight, my client's very willing to do what Mr. Delgado's asking. Okay. For that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That satisfies you?
Yeah, that is very encouraging. And one of the things, having been a resident of Ashton Oaks since 2005, when it was completed and Ashton Park was just starting to be developed or proposed, to date there's been a lot of discussion like this, that hey, we'll just make some green space, but we've never seen an affirmation in writing that this is not going to be developed into a thoroughfare, connecting into the two subdivisions. So if the effect, and I appreciate what he's, very encouraged, but if we can get an assurances from that paperwork that assures that there's not going to be a road developed there, if that gets that effect, I'm satisfied.
Well, the individual just stated on record that he's going to go ahead and get with the staff and be able to work these things out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments from the audience? If not, I turn it back over to the commission. Commissioner Daugherty.
Thank you, sir. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the 2018-1227 PP.
And that's with waivers.
With the waivers, yes.
Commissioner Willie.
Yes, I'm going to second that, but I have a question of Kara. Someone mentioned that could this be done before we get to final, this work, to provide that assurance?
I spoke to someone today in my office, and he was another resident of the subdivision. And so the street on their subdivision is a parish right-of-way and hasn't been built out. So, and then Ashton Park is a private subdivision, so we wouldn't go back and build the street and then make them connected. So the likelihood of that being connected is slim to none.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion to approve with the waivers by Commissioner Daugherty and a second by Commissioner Willie. Any more discussion? If not, please vote. With the waivers, of course.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Case 2018-1277 PP Gust Island Parcel 1, Ward 1, District 4. Developer owner is Inc. with Kelly McHugh and Associates. The Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Michael Lorino. Staff comments?
Preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection of the site was made. It's recommended that the preliminary submittal be approved, subject to the following. General comments, number 1, the fill and grading statement must be revised to further identify which lots in parcel I will be graded by the developer and which lots will be the responsibility of the homeowner. Preliminary plat, number 2, drainage servitude at the rear of lots 430 through 434 must be a public servitude, as all drainage in the subdivision is parish maintained. Revise the width of the drainage servitude to meet parish requirements. Number 3, signage within Gust Island is privately maintained, therefore include a note on the plat indicating that the HOA will own and maintain all traffic control and signposts. 4, LDH approval of the water distribution lines and sewer collection lines is required. Paving and drainage plan. Number 5, revise the cross culvert at the intersection of White Drive and Foxborough Loop so that the cross culvert crosses the road at a 90-degree angle. Informational items. A funded maintenance obligation in the amount of $10,000 is required in accordance with St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 2 Land Development Code, Chapter 125 Subdivision Regulations. Funded letters of credit for existing parish roads to ensure the repair of any damage to the parish roads resulting from the construction in connection with the subdivision. No mandatory developmental fee is required at final in accordance with St. Tammany Parish Code, Chapter 125 Subdivision Regulations, since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The developers hereby advise that upon application for final subdivision approval, the engineer of record for the development shall certify in writing that all aspects of construction have been completed in accordance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. If any construction activity is proposed that's not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and parish ordinances, the engineer of record for the development shall certify in writing to the Department of Development prior to beginning said construction activity. The developer and/or engineer of record shall obtain written approval from the Department of Development prior to beginning any proposed construction activity that's not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the November 13, 2018 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff Shane of Jones Fussell, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, and I represent the owner and developer McKent LLC. We're in accord with all comments made by staff. Those items have either been addressed or they're in the process of being addressed, but they will be addressed per se as staff has recommended. We request that you grant preliminary subdivision approval this evening.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak against this preliminary approval? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph. I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Baggert. Second. I have a second by Commissioner Baggert. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 2017-1278 PP at Beatico Creek, Parcel 14, Ward 1, District 1, developer owner is Kelly McHugh and Associates. The engineer is Kelly McHugh and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
Preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office and an inspection of the site was made. It's recommended that the preliminary submittal be approved subject to the following comments. General comments. Number 1, the field and grading statement must be revised to further identify which lots within parcel 14 will be graded by the developer and which lots will be the responsibility of the home builder. Number 2, it appears that some of the downstream culverts outlined in the drainage design table did not account for subbasin number 4. Revise the design table to include this area and verify that all pipe sizes are correct. Revise any pipe sizes as needed. Preliminary plat. Number 3, LDH approval of the water distribution lines and sewer collection lines is required. Number 4, include a north arrow and scale. Number 5, show a permitted driveway area on the eastern side of lot 881. A driveway connection to the end of the T turnaround will not be permitted. On the paving and drainage plan. Number 6, paving work is indicated outside of the footprint of the subdivision near the intersection of Kelly Lake Lane and Audubon Parkway. Construction in this area was included as part of parcel 15. Revise the paving and drainage plan to remove this area from parcel 14. Informational items. No funded maintenance obligation is required since this is an extension of a private subdivision. No mandatory developmental fee is required at final subdivision submittal since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The developer is hereby advised that upon application for final subdivision approval, the engineer of record for the development shall certify in writing that all aspects of construction have been completed in accordance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. If any construction activity is proposed that's not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and parish ordinances, the engineer of record for the development shall notify in writing the Department of Development prior to beginning said construction activity. The developer and/or the engineer of record shall obtain written approval from the department prior to beginning any proposed construction activity that's not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. and revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the November 13, 2018 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Thanks, Shane. Mr.
Thank you,
Morone.
Mr. Chairman. Paul Maroon on behalf of Beatico Creek Preserve. We have no objection to any of the staff comments and will comply with each of them. A few more comments on some of the more substantive issues. With regard to item number 2, our engineer has checked the pipe size and has verified that in fact all the pipes are adequate as sized. We will revise the design table accordingly. With regards to number 5, the T turnaround, we will show the permitted turnaround area on the plat as requested by staff. And finally, item number 6, the paving and drainage plan will be revised to remove the area from parcel 14 as suggested. We would respectfully request your approval of preliminary for parcel 14 Beatico Creek, subject to the staff's comments.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience against this preliminary subdivision approval? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission for their decision. Commissioner Casabon.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next case was postponed. Now we go to final subdivision reviews. 2018-1197 FP, Southern Oaks, Phase 1, Ward 1, District 4. Developer owner is Yannon LLC. Engineer is Kyle Associates LLC. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Michael Lorino. This case was postponed from the October 9th, 2018 meeting. Staff?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on October 25th, 2018. The inspection disclosed that all of the concrete roads are constructed, road shoulders are constructed, and the roadside ditches are functioning. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of final inspection and must be completed before plats are signed. General comments: 1, a letter of acceptance from the utility provider for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system. Number 2, a negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system is required. Number 3, multiple fire hydrants were installed below grade. All fire hydrant elevations must be checked and raised where required. 4, certification from DOTD that construction of the left turn lane on Highway 22 is satisfactory is required. Number 5, the fill and grading statement indicated that the individual home builder would be responsible for grading the lots in accordance with the as-built drainage plan. However, many of the lots within the subdivision will require the removal of up to 2 feet of material. This amount of grading is excessive and will greatly increase the likelihood of multiple drainage issues during home construction. Design revisions are recommended in order to bring the existing lot and drainage elevations into alignment with the proposed grades. Final plat number 6, provide another benchmark as the current benchmark is located on a residential lot. Number 7, revise the dedication statement to state that the HOA will maintain all traffic control signage and mounting poles. 8, add a restrictive covenant stating the HOA or developer will maintain the green space. 9, revise restrictive covenant number 13 to reference chapter 125 instead of ordinance 499. As-built drainage plan number 10, provide ditch invert elevations to the east and west of the subdivision entrance to verify that the roadside drainage along Highway 22 is functioning properly. 11, remove the garden home lots from the driveway culvert table as subsurface drainage is being provided in this area. 12, the driveway culvert table must be updated to reflect the as-built invert elevations of the ditches. 13, the as-built plan does not show positive flow in the ditches in many locations. Regrade the ditches and provide revised as-built plans showing positive flow. 14, additional survey data is required around the entire detention pond at regularly spaced intervals to verify that the correct top bank elevation of 18 is being met. 15, the outfall ditch section does not appear to be constructed according to the previously approved preliminary plans. Verify that the required ditch capacity is being provided and install the 24-inch outfall pipe at the south end of the ditch. 16, the as-built plan indicates that the green space between the lots will be a high point. Additional survey data or design elevations are required. If grading work is required in the green space areas to conform with the as-built drainage plan, indicate who will be responsible for performing this work. 17, the proposed elevations along abutting lots or lots abutting green space show that there's a difference of approximately 1.5 feet. How is this difference in grade going to be accommodated? 18, provide an as-built cross-section for the new subsurface section along Moss Point Lane. As-built sewer plan 19, provide additional invert elevations for sewer manhole 7 showing all 4 sewer line connections. 20, provide invert elevations for the connection to the sewer lift station. As-built signage plan, add speed limit signs along Oak Bend Lane in accordance with the approved preliminary plans. Informational items, should Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 3,095 linear feet at $25 per linear foot for $77,400 for a period of 2 years. Mandatory developmental fees are required as followed. Road impact fee, $1,077 per lot times 58 lots for $62,466. Drainage impact fee, $1,114 per lot times 58 lots for $64,612. Fees are due before the final subdivision plats can be signed. The subdivision is within the urban growth boundary line, and revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the November 13th Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, Paul Marone again on behalf of Yannon LLC. Admittedly, the list that Mr. Watson just read to you was longer than we would have liked this evening. However, if you'll recall, this case has been on the agenda for a couple of months. We were hampered by rain, and I'm pleased to report, as Mr. Watson just noted, that all of the field work and construction work is completed. I'd like to go through, if you'll bear with me, and give you an up-to-date update on each of the items on this list, and I think you will find that most all of these items have now been completed. With regards to the general comments, we have the letter of acceptance from the utility provider. We also have the negative bacteriological report. With regards to the hydrants, we have had some additional elevation shot. We have verified that the hydrants were set correctly, but in the construction project of the ditches, we do have grading issues that need to be done around those to bring them back into compliance, and we will have that done. With regards to the DOTD, our contractor was supposed to meet with DOTD either today or tomorrow to look at the work that was done, to see if there are any additional requirements of DOTD or if in fact that work is approved. We believe it is completed. We recognize that we'll have to have DOTD sign off before our plats can be recorded. With regards to the fill and grading statement, as Mr. Watson and the staff noted, they recommended design revisions. Our engineer is in the process of making those revisions and revising the design accordingly. So we will be making those changes and resubmitting that to Mr. Watson for his review. All of the items under the final plat will be addressed. As for the as-built drainage plan, item number 10, the ditch invert elevations have been procured, and the ditch is functioning properly, and we will provide the as-built update to verify that. We will address items 11 and 12. With regards to item 13, the as-built plan does not show the positive flow of the ditches. Again, we took additional shots in these areas and have confirmed positive flow. We will update the as-builts accordingly and submit those to your engineering department. Likewise, on item 14, the additional survey data has been procured and we're able to verify that the correct top of bank elevation is in fact 18 feet at the pond. So that is done. Item 15, the ditch and the culvert referenced on this item are not required for this phase. Our engineer will provide calculations to your staff to verify that. But as you can imagine, the drainage plan for the entire development was created. The ditch and the culvert referenced here really are part of that overall plan and will be needed for subsequent phases, but our existing pond has more than enough capacity for this phase. And we will certainly provide the calculations to demonstrate that so that your engineers can be comfortable. As for 16 and 17, both of these items will be addressed in accordance with the revised grading plan that I referenced prior in item number 5. So when we revise the grading plan and the design for that, it will also address the items in 16 and 17. Item 19 and 20 are both completed, and with regards to the signs in item 21, they are installed. They were installed over the weekend. So while the list is longer than we would have liked, I believe that all of the field work is done, the elevations and the survey work are completed. It is a matter of updating the as-built plans accordingly and also providing the additional data with regards to the flows and some of the other items on this list so that your engineers can be comfortable that the system is working as it should. So we would respectfully request your approval this evening, subject to the staff comments, which we believe we are able to address and can provide them with that data in very short order. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners might have.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there anybody in the public would like to speak for or against this final subdivision approval? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Doherty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul, on item 5, staff indicates that there's quite a bit of work to make that work, and your comment was that it would have to be resubmitted to staff. How long will this take?
I would say to have the revised grading statement. So probably sometime next week we'll have that. What is happening there is, Mr. Doherty, as Mr. Watson noted, the plan as originally proposed had a great deal of fill that needed to be removed or cut that had to happen. And it really had to do with the existing elevations of the ground and whether we were draining from the back to the front. We will be able to revise that so that there is much less removal required. And again, I think we can have that, according to Mr. Powell, to Mr. Watson, probably by Tuesday of next week, Wednesday at the latest, but certainly before Thanksgiving.
Okay, based on the number of comments and what I saw when I was going through all this, I was prepared to postpone this for a month.
Understood.
And, you know, it just seems we continually ask the engineers to come and give us a list that is not near as long as this. And even Mr. Fontenot had sent a letter out to everybody. I just really have a problem with these kind of lists, but based on your comments, most of them have been taken care of, except basically 3, 4, and 5 right now. And
that's correct, Mr. Doherty.
Okay. So based on that, on this one, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion for approval and go from there.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Doherty. Commissioner Randolph.
Second with a question. I second that with but may I ask a question? Yes. Paul, would item number 3, I'm still trying to visualize how the fire hydrants are not at below grade. Will item number 3 be equated with item 16 and 17? Or just 17? Or no?
No. 16 and 17, they are similar. They are similar in that the fill and grading statement will be revised, which will address 16 and 17. Grading is also required to address item number 3. And so to try to explain what you would see out there is you would see a fire hydrant that looks like it's halfway buried, that looks like it, and as staff noted, well, it's below grade. But in truth, in fact, what happened is when the ditching and the other dirt work was done, rather than grading that out around these hydrants, it basically piled up. So we need to go in and regrade those areas so that the grade is at the proper elevation with the hydrant.
Thank you.
Any more comments? I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Doherty and a second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Last case under the final subdivision review, 2018-1276 FP Money Hill Plantation, Phase 7B1, Ward 6, District 6. Developer owner is Money Hill Plantation LLC. The engineer is J.V. Burks and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Richard Tanner. Staff?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on October 31st, 2018. The inspection disclosed that all of the asphalt roads and shoulders are constructed and the roadside ditches are constructed and functioning properly. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. General comments: 1, a letter of acceptance for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system is required. 2, Section 12556 states that all lots within a new subdivision must have either public or private street frontage or road frontage constructed for the full lot frontage. Therefore, a waiver of regulations is required since Camp Hill Drive does not extend the entire length of Lot 407. On the final plat, provide clarification for the purpose of the 50-foot buffer at the rear of lots 406 through 418. The buffer was previously labeled as a 50-foot maintenance servitude on the approved preliminary plans. Number 4, remove the under construction note as the lift station has been constructed. 5, remove the driveway culvert schedule from the plat and include the information on the as-built drainage plan. 6, revise restrictive covenant number 9 to state that the park area and traffic signage will also be owned and maintained by the HOA. As-built drainage plan. 7, fill and grading statement must be provided to this office, and the final plat and/or the as-built drainage plan must be updated accordingly. 8, provide drainage arrows on all lots. 9, remove drainage note and replace this information with the culvert table from the final plat. Number 10, lot 419 appears to be the high point of the ditch section. Verify that a culvert is required at this location. If no culvert's required, then revise the culvert table accordingly. 11, the bold print invert elevations on this sheet are the design elevations, not the as-built elevations. Revise the as-built data as bold, note accordingly. As-built sewer plan. 12, replace the design sewer slopes with as-built sewer slopes. 13, the bold print invert elevations on this sheet are the design elevations, not the as-built elevations. Revise the as-built data as bold, note accordingly. 14, the minimum required or recommended slope of 0.4% was not achieved for the sewer main between manholes 4 and 5 and manholes 11 and 12. Provide verification that a minimum clearing velocity of 2 feet per second can be achieved with the existing slope. On 15, revise this sheet to include the end of roadway signage and speed limit signs that are installed. Informational items: should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 2,596 linear feet at $22 per linear foot for $57,100 for a period of 2 years. Staff recommends approval of the final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats are signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory developmental fees are required since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The subdivision is not within the urban growth boundary line, and revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the November 13 meeting in order to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm on behalf of Money Hill Plantation LLC, which is the owner and developer of this phase. We're in full accord with all comments and requests of staff, and of course seek final subdivision approval this evening. I will be glad to address any questions that you might have. It seems to me that there should be some commentary as it relates to a few of the items. If you would look at item 2 under general comments, we would appreciate a waiver, which of course requires a 2/3 vote. There is a portion of our frontage of that lot that is not on the street. With regard to item 3, I can tell you that that servitude functionally serves as a maintenance servitude, so we will designate on the plat accordingly either that language or something similar to it to clear up any confusion as to that 50-foot area. As to item 10, our engineer, Mr. Burks, will determine whether or not a culvert is required. If not, we will delete it. If so, we'll make sure the culvert is functional and will work at that location. Similar comment with regard to item 14. We have a few flat areas there. We recognize that we have to make sure that we have the necessary flow. We will make the necessary adjustments and submit that to staff for their consideration. As staff has noted, all of the heavy lifting in the field has been completed. There's certainly some items that need to be addressed, but they're more administrative, if you will. So for that reason, we hope that you will grant final subdivision approval. If any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Anybody in the public would like to speak for or against this case? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Mr. Shane that although this list is 15 items, most of these are just administrative in nature on the plot, and I'd like to move for approval with the waiver as requested.
I have a motion to approve with the waiver by Commissioner Richard. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Randolph. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay. Amendments to Chapter 125 subdivision regulations, none. Old business. 2018-1015 MSP, a minor subdivision of a 4.07 acre parcel into parcels A, B, C, D, Ward 9, District 11. Owner is Rosemary Gunn and Willie Gunn Revocable Trust. Surveyor is Land Surveying LLC. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Steve Stefanczyk. This was postponed indefinitely at the June 12th meeting, and the request to be placed, on the December, I'm sorry, staff. I guess I should have had you done that, but staff?
This case came before you in June on the Planning Commission. They had to do a rezoning, and I believe y'all voted on their rezoning last month. So they'll get final approval by council next month.
Okay.
So they're gonna come to get to do a resub, and I believe one of the lots doesn't meet the road frontage, so they need a waiver from y'all.
Okay, so we don't need to postpone this right now? Or we do?
No, so they're just
Okay,
requesting it,
gotcha.
because they were postponed indefinitely, they're requesting to be placed
Gotcha.
on the
So they are
December
requesting
agenda.
to be placed on
Yeah,
it.
and they'll
Okay.
be re-advertised, and reposted.
Okay, we don't have to vote on this then?
Yeah,
do
you
we?
still have to vote on it, you have to
Okay,
vote
we
on
do
to
have to vote
place
on
it
the-
onto the agenda,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll go ahead and turn it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Motion to approve that this be placed on our agenda for the December meeting.
I have a motion to approve to place this on the December meeting. Commissioner Casabon.
Second that motion.
I have a second by Commissioner Casabon. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Continuing, you got 2018-1053 PP, the Preserve at Goodby Lakes, Ward 1, District 3. Developer owner is D.R. Horton, Inc. Gulf Coast engineer is Quality Engineering and Surveying, LLC. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable James Thompson. This was postponed indefinitely at October 9th meeting, and the request is to be placed back on the December 11th.
Honorable Commissioners, the above captioned subdivision was postponed indefinitely at the October 9, 2018 Planning Commission meeting. At the meeting, Mr. Shane verbally requested the subdivision be placed on the November 13, 2018 Planning Commission agenda under old business. Should the commission approve Mr. Shane's request, the Preserve at Goodby Lakes will be placed on the December 11, 2018 Planning Commission agenda under preliminary.
Mr. Shane.
Thank you. That states the essence of the request. I think you remember the discussion last month. That will place both cases in the Goodby community seeking preliminary on the same docket in December. After your meeting last month, I had a private conversation out back with those that were in attendance from the Goodby community. They knew I was going to come back in and request that it be placed on the agenda tonight so that it would be set in December. The only thing I would maybe give you a heads up on is that, as I think you're aware, the parish has an ordinance that's pending, an amendment to the fill ordinance that could impact those cases in December. That ordinance comes up for adoption on December the 6th. Your planning commission meeting is not until December 11th, but it could be, depending on what the council does or does not do with the fill ordinance, may impact the discussion. So it doesn't mean we're not going to be prepared to come back to you on December 11th. We will be, but it may be that we're not sure what the law is. So understand that there could be a little flex in all of this.
Sure. Okay. I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion that this item be placed on the December 11th meeting, also considering the issue with the field determination by the council.
Commissioner Randolph makes a motion to bring this back up to the December meeting. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Doherty.
Colin, after the council passes at their December 6th meeting, isn't there a delay of like 10 days before it actually becomes effective?
It depends on the language of the ordinance. Some ordinances are effective immediately upon adoption. Some, there's a 15-day delay. So that's something you probably need to find out before you come up in December.
Okay, and right now, we don't know what the language at the bottom line is on this particular ordinance. Is that correct?
I believe there's a 15-day period after this one.
There usually is.
Okay, so even if they pass it, we would have an opportunity to go ahead and hear the cases there in Goodby and just know that you're gonna have to, follow that fill ordinance at that point in time when you start construction.
Yes, sir. We're prepared for that. I think that obviously if the ordinance, if the amendment to the fill ordinance passes, we will have submissions to staff that would presumably be in accord with the amendment to the ordinance. If the amendment to the ordinance does not pass, we may need to be thinking about a redesign. So what I didn't want to do was come back in December and you guys get frustrated wondering why we weren't ready to go. And at least now you know what's in the air. But I agree, I don't think there's any reason that we shouldn't be prepared to go forward, have a good discussion in December, and see what the will of the commission is.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shane.
Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Randolph.
Mr. Staff, caller, should it pass or not, either way? Will you guys advise us so that we can have a better discussion on the 11th, at the 11th meeting?
Yeah, we'll have our staff analysis report ready, knowing how the council has ruled. Yeah.
Good deal. Thank you.
Okay, with that being said, I have a motion to approve the listening to the case this December by Commissioner Randolph and a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any more conversation? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 2018-1283 AOC, the Preserve at River Chase Phase 1A and 1B, Ward 1, District 1. Surveyor is Southern Lifestyle Development. The Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Marty Dean. This is a request to amend the width of the drainage servitude. Staff?
Honorable Commissioners, the above captioned act of amendment's been reviewed by the Department of Development Engineering and no objections offered. Therefore, it's recommended that the act of amendment be approved to amend the width of the private servitude of passage in Phase 1A and 1B along lots 1 through 16 and 43 from 27 feet to 22 feet, and to amend the lot widths on lots 1 through 10 in Phase 1A.
Thank you.
No comments, Mr. Davis, unless there are questions from the commission.
Okay. I'll bring it back to the commission then. Commissioner Casabon.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I'll second.
I have a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Any new business? Motion to adjourn?